Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stand on Your Business podcast with Nina Gonzalez and my co-host,
Natasha Robinson.
Hey, y'all. So we are here today to present somebody, and this is the first time I'm ever going to do this, right? So I have to pull out my phone to get
Don't
this
worry, we're not going to judge you. Get it right. Read it right.
Get it right.
Wear your glasses.
Right, hold on. So we have Johnny Mullins here, right? And he is a real estate developer, community psychologist, architectural designer.
Yes.
Interior designer, video game designer, animator, speaker, and educator. Wow.
Absolutely.
With that being said, that's a huge introduction. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, man. Where you want me to start?
On one of them long lists of accolades.
One of them long lists. But yeah, first of all, I just want to say I'm glad and honored to be a part of this because I think I was there during the inception.
Oh, yes. We're going to get into that story.
The exposure thing. And it's reality. So this is beautiful, man. I'm learning a lot from y'all, believe it or not.
Good.
Yeah, so.
Tell us a little bit about, what is it, of all those titles, what is the badge of honor, the thing that you feel most, I don't want to say proud because that's a strong word, but that grateful for?
And you can't say all of them.
Yeah. So I'm going to say the one that's at the top, right? To earn a PhD in community psychology is not an easy task, right? So you're being challenged by scholars all over the world, and you're debating, and you're dealing with all type of issues. So I would say that would be the best one because it's my dissertation was something that nobody knew, right? Like my chairs didn't know, the president of the school, and they was like, hold on, we got somebody that's coming from a science background, which is architecture, engineering, over into, humanities and stuff like. And the first thing they said was, Johnny, we don't solve problems in the PhD. We just add on to other people's research. And I was like, no. I'm here to solve a problem.
I didn't know that.
I need to learn, your research degree because a PhD is a research degree. And I did learn that so that I can go back and take the data and help me be a better designer, right? So a community designer. So my dissertation was understanding the relationship between the real estate developers and the Native community members when it comes to gentrification. More importantly, the topic of development versus displacement. Wow. Because most real estate developers, when they come into communities and they gentrify the community, they displace the Native community members, raise the taxes, raise the rent and all this type of stuff. So I said, my job is to figure out how to bridge the gap and make it so that they don't displace any of the Native community members and develop them along with the project.
So I see why you made it so far because they probably had never seen someone collaborate those two worlds together to try to figure out, because you had more of a vested interest, and I'm sure that probably came from something inside you, maybe from your childhood or some reason that made you kind of go to that direction to be inventive, be a pioneer. So what made you kind of go that direction?
Hey, man, you're exactly right. I think you're a psychic, too. But, yeah, so growing up, where we were constantly pushed out of, situations where developers would come in and gentrify areas. Like, okay, if I started off in Inglewood and then we moved up to Pilsen, then you say, whoa, what's happening in Pilsen, right? Pilsen is going through something like, oh, we can't afford to live anymore. And people are being displaced. So it's like after you go through a lot of that and you hear different mayors and state senators and things like that, municipalities having these same type of issues all around the world, not just in the United States, but like Greece, China, it's everywhere. And I started saying, man, it's got to be a better way, right?
So you talking about them taking Cabrini Green and turning that into? You talking about them coming in North Kenwood, and now is that what you're talking about?
That's
I just want to put it out there.
It's so insightful that you're saying that this is a worldwide issue.
Absolutely, it's a worldwide issue. In Hong Kong, I think it's a rule after maybe 10 years, they just tear down the buildings. Everybody got to get out. They tear down and make way for new development. Wow. It's kind of a cool thing, but, the displacement is what's crazy. Just think about something as simple as if I'm in Inglewood and I'm displaced and I got to go to the east side and live, now the rite of passage with the gangs and stuff like that. Like I'm getting towed off because
that might
I'm
be
not
a problem.
even-
So for those viewers who don't know, Inglewood is one of the prime neighborhoods here in the city of Chicago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So stuff like that. It was like, they're not taking in consideration that when we displace these people and they have to start a new home somewhere else, it's like they got it. We call it a PSOC, which is a psychological sense of community. So I used to argue this all the time because most doctors will say a PSOC is a 10-mile radius. And I said, no.
Neighborhoods ain't even 10-mile
radius.
radius.
It's
10
a
miles,
4
you'll be in
blocks.
another state.
It's 4 blocks
I'd
in
be
the
like,
city of Chicago.
I'd be like, it's a block. And then I went to house just to show how two people are beefing, two different gangs living right next door to each other. So he has a different PSOC because if a gang member lives next to a police officer, what do you think is happening? Mm-hmm. That's two different PSOCs. You know what I'm saying? So
And
how do you fix that?
Can you repeat PSOC?
Psychological sense of community.
Wow.
So it's like your understanding is like, if I grow up in a certain neighborhood, we're okay with robbing people, right? And then another neighborhood is like, oh, we don't do that over here.
That is something that I've never even thought to communicate to put with displacement and housing. Like I didn't even think about because we have two different gangs.
And it makes a huge impact also, I think, on when people are purchasing and we say, but this house fits in your purchase price. And they're like, nah, I got a 17-year-old who has to walk home from the bus and he can't live there. But that's the only place they can actually afford to buy.
So what about what are your thoughts on, I know that when they do that, just like Presidential Towers, and we're dropping names, guys, of developments in Chicago right now. So Presidential Towers was one that was built, and then, Cabrini Green, they took land away from all poor people who lived in Cabrini Green. It was the projects in here in Chicago. But then they allotted where on this specified land, they're going to let so many minorities or low income people live on that land. So I think that was their way of kind of taking the land. So what is your thoughts on that?
I wish I could use some expletives or something like that, but
feel free.
Yeah. So let's just take one that I was a part of, right? So Lathrop Homes, right? Mm-hmm. Lathrop Homes is just as big as Cabrini Green. So I was actually torn between my research and actually being one of the head project managers or construction managers for the redevelopment of Lathrop Homes. Wow. So I'm doing my dissertation, I'm recording the people that live there, and I'm like, okay, man, y'all keep me posted. Like, if they start giving y'all crazy stuff about displacement, let me know. I want to know everything because I'm documenting everything. So I'm interviewing some of the people, and one day I come over there because I'm building high-rise buildings in Lathrop Homes. So they're tearing down some of the low-rise, and they're building like 20-story buildings. Mm-hmm. So they promised that they would relocate a group of tenants from one area of Lathrop Homes off campus. When they fix up the low rise, they'll bring them back. So what ended up happening was we go to the town halls and community meetings and stuff like that, and they promised that this was not going to be an issue. I'm documenting. I go back and interview the people. It's like, Dr. Mullins, let us tell you what happened, man. They told us that we got to stop smoking right now. Anybody who smokes in here starting next month is automatically evicted.
Oh, so they found ways.
Wow.
Yeah,
you can't just stop smoking.
Yeah.
Like some people can,
it's
but
hard.
most people can't.
It's actually there's an actual toxicity level that your body gets used to that can alter your whole system after you stop smoking.
So they put restrictions on them that they knew that they would fail at to not have to exercise.
So, and this is something that they've been doing. So we call this CBA, right, which is a community benefits agreement. So the Native community members have to stand on an agreement, and they did it for the presidential center too with Barack Obama, and Barack went against the CBA. It was weird because I was doing the internship, like, Barack went against the CBA, like, he's with us, you know, like, and it's weird. So they put in like, if anybody who has kids in the residence, kids don't earn anything higher than a C, is grounds for eviction.
Stop it.
Yeah, like no barbecuing on the front of the building, no working on your cars, and then
that's
Cabrini Green.
Because they like, they terrible. So let me get the bad ones out. So the ones that can survive through the good grades and the non-smoking, those the people we actually want to live around. So we'll let them stay per our agreement.
And there is actually a study that was done in the city of Chicago. It's called Front Porch Communities. because we were never granted, there was lots of communities who didn't have a backyard. Everything was done in the front porch. So you wonder around, why are they always in the front? Because nobody ever taught them to be in the backyard, because it was never a commodity that most families had, because we were usually in high rise or sort of project type situations.
Absolutely. So that's exactly it. So they're specifically designing these agreements to say, okay, we will allow y'all to stay and be part of the development and not displacement if you can adhere to these rules and regulations that they present at CBA. So the Native community members have to form a coalition and say, no, you need to take that out because we'll get sick.
Sometimes they might be tired.
No. Yeah, so it's
a lot to fight.
It's just a setup.
To fight.
Sometimes, I just said, sometimes knocking down the bolted doors, sometimes people like to go on the lowest path of resistance and not be the pioneer. Because sometimes you fight so hard, you become defeated.
You're struggling with home, you're struggling with finances, and now you got to come and struggle with somebody for a house that you're entitled, for a property that you're entitled to. But let's go back, because they did agree to a lot of the affordable housing, and only a certain percentage of these developments are even required to give affordable housing. Let's say it's 30%. Am I good with that number?
Yeah, let's take it down to like 20%.
20%.
Yeah.
But even then, the developments are only required to have that affordable housing cap for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, but you know, there's also a pool of money that you can say, I don't want to do that, and I'll pay a certain amount of millions of dollars.
You hit the nail right on the head.
Into a fund that supposed to support disinvested communities.
And then who even monitors that money?
The aldermen. And guess what they end up doing? Something like Lincoln Yards, which I'm working on now, right?
Y'all make me mad.
Some kind of way, yeah.
No, I know. But then I'm also at one end, we're financing some of the Lincoln Yards purchases that are happening. But fortunately, and I'm sorry to interject like this, but fortunately, this is a housing trust sort of situation. So we are putting families that are fit in the affordable housing, not to rent, but to own in the Lincoln Yard. So that is something I'm proud of.
So it almost sounds like you're saying we're going to take these commodities and this property that was available to these low-income people, and 20% of you guys can still live here. But bucket B is that if you don't want the 20% of the people to live here, you could just pay a couple of $1 million and they can just lose all rights to everything right now. Yeah. And hopefully they'll find somewhere else to go later on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the thing is, they can just price that loss into the sale of the development.
Yeah, actually right. So, but the purpose of that money is supposed to go to, let's just say, Inglewood, South Shore, West Lawndale, Woodlawn, and build, that many more houses. Mm-hmm. For those people to go live in, those communities. But it never gets to develop at that point. And what ends up happening is the money is constantly piling up, and it becomes like almost billions of dollars. And as soon as somebody come with like a project like the 78, Chicago 78 neighborhood, right? And I'm working on that. Lincoln Yards, which is like massive, like almost like a Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, in order for us to build this, we need some subsidies from the city. And guess what they're going to end up doing? They're going to end up voting with all the aldermen. And the aldermen are going to end up saying, all right, that's going to create so many jobs, blah, 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 blah. And then the money is gone out of the pool for the disinvested communities to this project. And then once it makes it to the project, that's a whole nother thing that's going on.
Man. But just going back to even the affordable, I sat in on a community meeting a few months ago, and I was like, you guys don't really want me there. I'll go as a guest, but honestly, you don't want me to speak, because if I speak my mind, no one's going to like it.
Right.
No one's going to like it. They have, in this affordable housing in Lincoln Yards, right? So there's a development that's being built right now. And affordable housing for them is a 1-bedroom apartment for $1,550.
Yeah.
That is affordable housing.
That's not affordable.
It's not affordable.
What my clients can qualify for.
No, it's not affordable. But they're taking into account the census, the percentage of what people gain in that area, and not taking into account the people that want to migrate to these areas.
Look at you, smart.
Come on.
See, when people say it's a numbers game,
It is a numbers game.
it's a census numbers game, not a monetary numbers game. So that's good. But yeah, so then once it goes back into those developments and you walk into a construction site and you see 250 people working, and then you can count on one hand how many African Americans and how many Latinos, you're like, is it really putting that many jobs back in here? And then based on my research as a psychologist, that's what we call a 30-year tier program to eliminate them eventually.
Gotcha.
So 10 years, you're good to go. The next 10 years, we're going to raise some things up and make it a little more difficult for you.
Wow.
And then the next 10 years, you should be gone.
And that's why we need people to pay attention.
And they do. They need to, because if we have people in ownership in these kind of opportunities or investment in these kind of opportunities, whether the 30 years come and go, you're a stakeholder.
Absolutely.
You're a stakeholder. Now, isn't it conflicting a little bit? Aren't you a developer? Like, isn't what your dissertation was against? How do you deal with creating money on developments versus displacement? Like, have you ever encountered a situation where you were part of this and not working on a project? I mean, the lead on a project.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So
good question.
It's funny you say that because on my ride here, I was like talking to somebody in public policy with the state of Illinois. I was like, we just need to create more Wakandas. Right?
Right.
If we create more Wakandas, then I'll show you how the colonizers depend on us and our culture more than y'all think. If we really did segregation and we created black Wakandas or whatever, the European colonizers will kill each other off. I'm fictitiously saying, don't kill me if this goes live or whatever. They will come and spend money.
Oh, it's going live. No,
we are.
But they will come and spend money in our communities because of our culture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then because we don't know. And that's just like the Hispanic community, that was one of the first communities that were taken before Cabrini Green from my neighborhoods because it was the easiest to take.
I grew up in Wicker Park. We had
I
grew up in Wicker Park. I grew up in Wicker Park. I went to school right
all of that was taken. Those properties was $80,000. I have people that sold land right there for $20,000 that I personally know African American.
And then it went further west. So the displacement is not just limited to, a certain community. Sometimes I think it even impacts income classes because I have seen some other types of communities, whatever race they are, but they don't make certain kind of money. They have been displaced. Yeah. Right. So it's an income class issue, but we see it more as a race issue in our city.
Oh yeah. If you got the money, you can dance.
Money controls the world.
He said, if you got the money,
you can dance.
So tell us a little bit more about projects because I was amazed when I spoke to you out of town and Kanye got a lot more of your story and you've been in my phone forever. So I was excited to know. So tell us a little bit about the projects that you've worked on, in the Chicagoland or anywhere else, because it's a lot of projects. So if you can just give us a few of them so our audience can see like what you actually do. Because you talk about an architect, you talk about a developer, and that's just anybody. But I've not ever met an architect and developer that has touched as many projects that you have that are close to me.
Yeah. So one story that was fascinating with me is that when I was an architect practicing working for a company in Chicago, and this little lady walked in and she was like, "Oh my God, we just fired this architect and this project is huge and we really need you guys to step in real quick." So I'm the only black person in the firm, first of all, and let's just say it's 150 people that work there, right? And I'm constantly
I'm trying to introduce yourself to y'all.
So I'm constantly fighting with one of the VPs, and everybody went to Cornell, so I went to SIU, right? So
Carbondale,
you know what I'm saying?
And my producer in the back.
SIU is Southern Illinois University.
Carbondale. Yeah, not the Edwardsville.
Just
no
want to let you know.
Yes.
So finally, one of the presidents of the firm says, "You know what? Let's let Johnny go against Mike." I'm just going to say Mike, and figure out the price, the cost to do this development. So we go into this boardroom about this size, and they tell me to take this wall, and Mike took that wall. So Mike got started, doing the calculations. They need this building, grocery stores, movie theaters, houses, this, right? Roads, everything. And I'm over here and I probably used about this much space and was done in probably like 15 minutes.
Wow.
Right? And he's still doing his calculations and all this stuff. And the lady is sitting there and it's like, is that the price? I was like, yeah, this is how much it should cost for design fees, construction fees. This is how much you're going to make on your return on investment. This is how long it's going to take to build it. All of this stuff, right? And Mike's still going. He going. And he don't even finish, I don't think. And they said, wow, you've been working here all this time in China, India, Chicago, LA, New York, and we never knew that you knew the business of architecture. And I was like, yeah.
Secret sauce.
So who this lady was, she was the sister to a sheik named Al Gaher.
Wow.
All right. So the Dubai that you know now is extravagant.
Right.
But it wasn't always extravagant.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
And they didn't have the financing in place to do all the stuff that they're doing now. But this sheik Al Gaher is who loaned the money to Dubai to build Dubai.
So you said take it from here. We need to take it to Dubai.
The person that you're speaking to is related to the sheik?
Yeah, so Al Gaher hired us to build a city in his country called Al Gaher. Like, you can look it up. And I did the whole downtown, restaurants, grocery stores, houses. I mean, a city, right?
Standing on your business.
Yeah, so I designed a whole city for this guy. And I remember we used to be up because if he had to call at like 3 a.m. That's like 9 o'clock or something over there or whatever. Somebody don't quote me, but we'll be on the phone at 3 a.m. because I got to manage Hong Kong, Dubai, New York, LA, Miami. I got to manage all these pipelines.
Mr. Worldwide.
He can't even tell us on the project.
Yeah.
He like, let me just give you this way.
And he would call me and say, Johnny, can you get me a McDonald's? And I was like, oh, how much you gonna pay for the McDonald's, man? Like, yeah, I'm sure I can get you a McDonald's.
Like, he mean build him one.
Yeah, he wanted a McDonald's at Al Gaher, right?
You need to have the
license. So my brother was working for McDonald's Corporation, so I'm calling him like, hey man, I need to get a McDonald's in Al Gaher, bro. He's like, boy, it don't work like that, man. Like, they tell you where you gonna go for the McDonald's. So I'm trying, because he's like, I'll give you anything. I'll give you like 10 million. 10 million for the McDonald's. I'm like, I need to get this McDonald's. I'm calling everybody, McDonald's owners, black McDonald's owners, everything. And there was no way for me to get it. And he was just like, Johnny, you let me down.
Well, now that you're talking about the Middle East, what are your thoughts on Kanye actually building a development or creating his own city out there?
It's beautiful. I mean, I used to be with Kanye. So he used to be in, like, what are you doing in Wyoming, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you got to explore. So that's beautiful for me because we're so just like, I grew up in Inglewood. 63rd Street was my downtown. I hadn't been downtown Chicago until I was like a junior in high school.
So you was excited when they got that Whole Foods and Chipotle.
What state we in now? You know what I'm saying? It's like 63rd was our downtown, 63rd and Halsted Street. So when you just don't know, you just don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's what my job is. I'm going to do a plug, Dr. Developers University. This is for me to open people's eyes and let them know to think bigger. Like, you don't have to just think so small about like, oh, I got to rehab a building. Nah, man. You need about 3-4 houses. Yeah, build a city, man. It's a lot of land out here. Call me.
They need somebody like you with the skills, because I am a renovation specialist.
Absolutely.
I do 203K all day, as I say. And I watch so many people fail. I myself had a project that failed from a bad architect, right? And it pushed me back and back. So what is your advice to those people that haven't made it to the build your city level, but what do they need to look for in a good architect and the questions they need to ask to become successful on a project?
You might have to find that. You're going to find that out when you register for Dr. Developers University.
But
I can give you that.
A little something.
Yeah, so people need to.
I think they trained him before he got here.
Hey, that's Dre. Dre like,
I think he's like,
Dre, look.
Great answer. Get him out.
Dre gonna beat me up like, you didn't say not your average doctor.
Because he ain't your average doctor. You gotta remember, baby.
Right. But anyway, like, so you have to understand that people can go to school for architecture. I got a student that's on his way from Carbondale right now. I've never met him. His mom called me and about 3 years ago and said, my son is about to drop out of architecture program at SIU. I said, put him on the phone. right now because I know what SIU does. They try to eliminate the black people real quick, right? So like, don't do it, bro. Let me tell you how much money you can make. But you need to understand this. Just to graduate with a 5-year degree in architecture doesn't mean that you're a licensed architect. You got to still study under a licensed architect for 5 more years.
What?
And then you got to sit to take the exam.
No,
As you should.
I'm just, I didn't know.
Right, but I'm saying it makes sense though because
So people don't know that, right? And what they really
buildings
don't know.
fall down. She
Yeah.
said.
And what they really don't know is that when you begin your freshman year, you can start your NCARB certification where you can be parallel to like a architect, and you can be getting your 5 years while you're going through school.
Oh, wait, okay, can we pause right there real quick? If you are an architecture student right now and you have started your program, Dr. Developer has said that you can start lining up that architectural requirement while you are in school.
National Certification Architecture Registration Review Board.
Y'all better tune in. And what's going to be the name of this class that they can take it?
Dr. Developer University.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot of people that want to do it and they get discouraged. Like my son is a computer science major and he almost opted into information systems because everyone told him that would be easier. And I was like, well, you know what, son, try it out. And as a crazy mom, I called all the people from Howard that are African-American, computer science successful people, majors, and I gave him a call with them so he can kind of get those cliff notes. Yeah. So you're the cliff notes for the architects. Yeah. So that way they can find a way to be able to build cities like Kanye.
Yeah, well,
absolutely.
And yourself in Dubai.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing, though, because I've never seen the complexity of a community psychologist intertwined with a developer and an architecture. Usually, and an architect, usually people take those roles like a developer and architect, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. But the community psychology part, that doesn't really line up. Yeah. I mean, so that makes you very niche.
Yeah, so it's a unique situation, right? Because somebody keeps getting it wrong, right? So if you keep getting it wrong, then I need to go figure out how to do the proper research, how to gather the proper evidence to say, okay, now based on how they maneuver, and based on how they maneuver, I need to create this so that everybody can get along.
And I challenge you. Look, I'm putting a challenge on blast. They're gonna be sending this to Kanye West. I challenge you for Kanye to reach out. Like you know him already. So that way it's done right. Because celebrities and people with a lot of money, sometimes they have vision, right? But they still need the brains behind that project for it to become.
What if I got more money than Kanye?
Hey. But you're still building cities, right?
Yeah,
you're still building cities.
So maybe we don't need Kanye right now.
Right? That's right.
And that's what this is about. I'm going to show you how you can do this with little or less money.
Okay.
I approve this message.
I agree with this message.
I agree with that message. Right. And I was trying to help Kanye out so it could get done right.
No,
for the publicity
and
all the Instagrammers and the Facebookers, you know what I'm saying, having some good press on a successful project. Yeah. You might be able to help him on his journey and add some more zeros to your zeros and your zeros.
We're going to definitely come back. But Kanye is good now, so he got enough money. I'm worried about the people that don't have money.
Got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I've had to start people with no money to build.
No,
I want the harder problem.
Right.
I like that.
I like solving the hardest problems.
He about to leave us speechless. Not yet, though. Hold up. Because
everybody out there with dreams and hopes and no funds or no plans, he here for you.
It's a lot of land out here.
So now that's an excellent segue to my next question. You have a development in Robbins or a project in Robbins. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Look, he get excited about that. He is Robbins. They gonna have his name on the parkway. You gonna have a statue. Let's go. He got a whole dance when you talk about Robbins.
Listen. One thing I know about Dr. Mullins, right, is he loves developments on water.
Yes.
That's his passion. Like you give him a project, he likes it, but put it in front of some water, he's right there. He loves it.
I'm going in. Yeah.
So what's up with Robbins?
Okay, so that segue, let me talk about Google, right?
Ooh.
So I developed an $11 billion project for Google, right? And San Jose, East Richmond, San Francisco area.
Wait, did you say 11 with a B?
Yeah, and that's their petty cash.
Wait, 11 billion.
Is there
11
petty
billion.
cash?
Yeah. So we in the
That's
meetings and
11
we're
billion
like,
and petty
oh, this is
cash.
gonna cost y'all 11 billion. It's like, oh yeah, we could cover that with our petty cash. But we want to create our own energy sources first. We want to create our own electricity, our own gas, our own, water.
Let's go.
So we built that first.
Okay.
And then we started developing the communities, right? So with the whole Google thing, there's a term in this industry for architects called pencils down. Pencils up, pencils down. When pencils down, that means stop. There's an issue. And I knew this issue was coming, right? So in certain parts of the United States, we're still trying to figure out how to convert salt water into potable water, right? Like drinkable water. The largest bodies of fresh water is where? Right? The Midwest. Chicago, Minnesota, Canada. Yeah. So we have it, right? So what's happening in Chicago right now that's slipping under y'all's skin and y'all don't know nothing about it and why?
We about to know now.
Google just bought the State Illinois Center.
Oh, wait, where's that?
Right across the street from City Hall, the
I
eggshell
know,
glass building.
The Thompson Center.
The Thompson Center, right?
Okay, the red building. Okay.
So they were in Fulton Market first. So now they're moving.
I'm familiar.
And what are they doing? They're getting closer and closer to Lake Michigan, right? Because the cooling systems, the amount of energy it takes to cool the server buildings is an astronomical price, right? So if you're in hot climates all year round, your bill is cooling. So they're starting to transition to the Midwest and colder climates with fresh water so they can run these systems through the building and it automatically cools for free.
So they trying to get close to the water.
Yeah, so that's why I'd say like water, especially fresh water, is prime real estate. Like that's why she said, I love like, I'm over in Michigan, Sagatuck, I'm like, give me that, because eventually that's going to be where everybody's migrating to.
So what's up with Robbins?
So Robbins, so let me tell you a story about Robbins. So I'm working, I'm pretty well off, and I get a call from Dr. Alfred and Dr. Edwards, and they were like, Johnny, we just became the superintendents of Robbins. Can you come out here and just teach the kids and help us manage these schools and teach robotics and STEM and everything?
Because you know how to do all of that.
All of that. Basketball, coach, soccer, everything. I was like, man, how much y'all paying? She was like, Johnny, we'll give you a little money. We'll give you a little money.
They like, you don't need it. We just going to give you something so you can say we get
pay your gas.
So I thought Inglewood was like one of the hardest and worst, compared to Cabrini Green or West Lawndale or something. So when I got to Robbins, I was like, whoa, this is...
It's worse than Inglewood?
This is taking me back to Mississippi, man.
I did hear that when the street lights go off, you're supposed to be gone.
Yeah, so it was...
Wait, in regards to the disenfranchisement or violence? What are you guys referring to?
Yeah,
both?
just everything.
Right. Okay.
And
infrastructure?
Yeah.
Because somebody tried to get me to buy a few properties out there when it was like 30,000.
Yeah.
Look like you going to make that not be available anymore.
We had 600 already. But yeah, so I went out there and I... put on all these hats, right? So I'm running the computer science programs, everything. And one thing I like about Dr. Alfred, shout out to her, is she said, your job is to help me find the teachers that are not doing their job. Students don't fail students. Teachers fail students.
All day.
And I was like, whoa, I like that. So I get to spy on the teachers. She's like, yeah, I want you to set up a computer program that's going to gauge them and see how involved they are with the students. So I did all this for about 2 years. And she called me one day and was like, hey, I got this guy. He just graduated from SIU. I need you to mentor him. So I was like, oh, this might be my way out. So he came in. I'm the basketball coach. Yeah, we come in. I think he was in there for like a week. And I had a basketball game, and I make everybody wear the same suit and ties, even though we getting our butt whooped. So at the middle of the game,
y'all with Robinson had no good time. Normally in the hood and the crime areas had the best basketball talent now.
Oh my gosh,
crazy!
Can we edit that out?
So middle of the game, I gave him my tie and my shirt and jacket, and I said, "This is your team now, and your school." And I was like, "I'm gonna help you. If you need anything, just call me." But I'm done with the school thing, man, because I had got into a situation where some girls were like getting bullied, and one of them committed suicide. And I was like, I can't take it, right? And
that's a lot.
Yeah. So this young man used to call me, and I helped him get his next job. And he was like, Mullins, I'm running for Park District Manager. I said, run, do it, bro. Oh, Mullins, I'm running for this, do it. And then he says, Mullins, I'm running for mayor. I was like, man,
Don't do it.
You didn't went too far.
Yeah, I was like, bruh. And then he called me one day. He was like, was you watching the news last night? I was like, no, man, what happened? He was like, I'm the mayor of Robinson. And we just laughed for like an hour on the phone, just laughing. And he was like, all right, Mullins, everything that you told me, you're going to help me turn the city around. Nice. And I said, perfect, because I wanted something that was just so disinvested that like people did not want to invest in, so I can show them how you can take something from nothing and bring it up and make it beautiful, like a Wakanda. Mm-hmm. So that's what the process is now. I actually own, right now to date, maybe 700 properties in Robbins, vacant land. The goal is for me to own and develop like 1,700. And what I told him, I was like, first right of refusal is going to come from me developing the people in Robbins. Remember my development versus displacement? Like teaching them how to be developers.
Yes.
Right? And he's with it. And then we had some challenges because he was your prices, Mullins, nobody in Robbins can afford $600,000. I said, look, bro, people are leaving Chicago, bypassing Robbins, going to Matson, going to Country Club Hills, Frankfurt, spending millions of dollars, and you're closer to the city of Chicago, and you're on the body of water. You're on the Calsag River. I was like, let me show you something real quick. So I designed this entire river walk with businesses, boats, high-rise buildings, all of this stuff, animated it. And I was like, I'm going to show you how we're going to make people from all of them Southland communities come to your city and pour money into it. Yeah. And then we're going to build up these houses. We're going to do some market rate, below market rate, above market rate. You know, and then
you just bought a city.
Yes, pretty much.
No,
yeah,
I mean,
I just want to make sure y'all understand the English. 700 properties in a little city is almost preach.
And then the gauge is 1,700. But one thing that I want to backtrack to, and an interesting that we've talked in our conversations, you said that when you're investing in a community, studying a community, you talk to the children and the seniors.
Yes.
Can we hear about that? Like, why?
So it's not that I talk to the seniors,
or you study them,
but those are the most important, right? So the children are the future, and we know that as African Americans, the way our culture is, the grandparents pretty much raise the kids while the adults go to work every day, right? So it's my job to make sure that those seniors who are going to drop those kids off at school, pick them up, take them to the football practice, all this stuff, can go outside their house and do that and return to their home safely every night. So that's why I focus on them first.
That's a great strategy.
That is. So
if I do those and I create amenities for that and a safe passage for them, the adults in the middle will figure it out and join in.
That's where the community psychology fits in.
That's where that dissertation came into play.
That's where that unity and community come in.
Nice.
Yeah, right in the middle.
So we talked about all the good stuff. Now there has to be some sidetracks to your story to your career.
Absolutely.
So there's one that's very impactful still, right? So even if somebody is going to court today, and this was many years ago, if somebody is going to court today and they get encountered with this feat, it's almost still impossible. But can you give us a backtrack? I know I gave a little too much juice there, but if you give us a backtrack of that story and what that looks like.
Are you talking about the go to the moon stuff?
Yes.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Yes.
So
go to the moon.
So this is my Kanye days, man. We were balling. And I probably had over about maybe 20 units. And the story's like credit score probably was like a 300 if that exists. But the mayor at the time knew me and said, hey, it's people coming from Houston and, this state and this state, and they don't know how to do business in Chicago, Johnny. I need you to tell them how to do business in Chicago. So these people were like very wealthy. They own prisons and they African-American, they own prisons and stuff like this. So I don't have anything, I'm an architect, blah, 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 trying to figure it out. And they said, hey, we'll walk you right in the bank and they'll give you $4 million. Just off of IGP. So I was like, man, you crazy. He said, have a party at your house tomorrow. I'm going to bring all the bankers in there.
Wow.
And watch what happens. the next day after we left my house, they called and said, come down to the bank. I go in the bank. I don't know what I'm reading. All these stacks of papers, you know what it is, right?
Right.
I'm signing. All I see is 3.5.
So you had exposure and you had trust.
And had trust.
Because you was exposed to the Dubai situation and you was exposed to $4 million worth of capital, which is almost impossible some of the people who are not listening to this podcast.
Right.
Yep, when I was 22 years old.
Wow. Right. 22. 4 million. Can you imagine?
That equates with inflation today, that equates to about 6.5 million.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I did was I had bought a bunch of properties, like maybe 20 properties, and then I was like, oh, I'm moving so fast, right? So I was like, oh, I'm gonna grab this multi-unit building at Hyde Park. Like Hyde Park is cream of the crop, right? So I basically sold everything and bought this one building, and I was like, oh, I'm about to hook this up right off the lake. And, you know, I think it was like 16 units. I was going to convert it down to 8, make them like, you know, they had nanny suites and quarters and stuff, you know. So it was beautiful design. And what happened was somebody broke in and ripped up all the asbestos off the existing pipes, right? So asbestos is a big thing, you know, all this type of stuff. So
if disturbed.
If disturbed.
Okay.
So I ended up getting fines and tickets, and they ended up cutting my electrical service and all that to stop your construction. That's what they typically do. Like if you're in a violation, they just cut your power first.
Right. That's gonna stop you.
That's gonna stop you, right?
Those that ain't got no generator.
Extension cord ain't gonna fix that.
Yeah, and then you're just getting fines, and then next thing you know, you're getting these letters that's saying that you polluted like a 20-mile radius with mesothelioma or something junk, right? I'm like, what is this, right? So I ended up going to court with my attorneys, and they were like, yeah, you polluted this much, you're being fined like, I don't know, something like $2,000 a day.
Wow.
And
that'll shut somebody down that ain't got no
easily.
bread.
And then study adding up. It's like you got to get the whole building encapsulated with like the white bubble and to stop the exposure spread of it. And then you got to have it abated. Wow. So you got to bring in the people with the white suits, abate everything.
And that costs money.
Yeah, that costs a lot of money. So when the banks found out, they cut the funding, the draws, the funding. It was like, oh, no, we ain't dealing with no asbestos. I'm like, oh, now I'm really, because I was only like maybe $500,000 away from finishing the project.
And were you 23 at that time?
Yeah, about 23.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Wow.
So we go to court, and we doing the deposition, and I never forget, this is what she's talking about, and the judge says, do you know how serious, because I'm kind of laughing. He's like, do you know how serious this is, young man? I was like, nah, bro. I'm just trying to finish my building. You know, it's like, this is serious. Do you know that we're trying to figure out if the moon or any other planets are uninhabitable? We're going to send all the asbestos and garbage and stuff from New York to those planets. And you have to pay for the fuel.
Wow.
And I was sitting there like, bruh. Like my attorney looked at my attorney like, bruh, pinch me. Like, I got to pay for the fuel to ship my container of asbestos to the moon or Mars. Wow. I was like, somebody just pour cold water on me real quick, right?
Like, that's definitely a dream.
So my attorney was like, bruh, they serious. It's HELL, right? So
how dare you be doing something like this?
Yeah,
23 and African American.
The thing is, right. I think that had a lot to do with them trying to, water down your play, because I don't know that I've even encountered or heard a story like that. That never went public.
Yeah, but I bet it's in the court records, though.
No, I'm just saying, like, if that was a standard, like, if that was precedent moving forward, that would have gone somewhere. You would have heard it somewhere. So I think it was a complete, plot.
Oh, yeah.
It was a plan to take what you was doing. Yeah. They I can do this. So let me shut him down and then sell it to Jack on the side at a discounted rate.
Look at black people. I love black people.
And come on in and do it myself.
Because guess what it was? It ended up being somebody was promised that building and they sold it to me for $3 million. Wow. And I was hooking it up so fast that they got kind of jealous and was like, we need to take that back, because that's in Hyde Park too, right? That's a 16-unit building in Hyde Park. Mm-hmm.
They saw
a few blocks from the water, from Lake Michigan. Somebody had their eyes on it. And that's what I started telling people, like, there's certain levels that you can fly under the radar and you don't be exposed, but you see, like, no disrespect to Diddy and them, like, they up there now look at all this stuff starting to happen because you like above the radar.
Yeah.
So I was too ahead of my time at the age of 23, and somebody was like, well, how did that little dude get that
how did
building?
You get out of that situation? Like,
man, that's what made me go sit down for like 10 years, right? So, because remember, I took all of my properties. Yeah, I took all of my properties and converted them and sold them and invested in that.
Right.
So now all the money I had was in that.
Plus a 4. So you have you got a $4 million loan and a $3 million purchase property.
Yes.
And then a bank that believed in you and
that pulled out.
That feel like they let you down, but they feel like you let them down.
Yes.
So now you got to revive everything.
Everything. So I probably had about maybe $500,000. So my attorney was like, I got to get you a good bankruptcy attorney.
I was gonna say, did you have to file bankruptcy?
Take your $500,000, go to New York, grab a brownstone, just live in New York for about 3 or 4 years, right? So I went up to New York and I hated it. Like I was there for about a year. I was like, oh my God, this place is nasty, right? So
no offense to any of our New Yorkers
no
out
offense.
there, none whatsoever.
But
I love New York, by the way.
Yeah, I don't like New York. But anyway.
Look, this is the Stand On Your Business podcast.
That's right. I love it. Stand on your business.
I do.
So anyway, what I decided to do, because I'm losing friends in the community, they going to prison. So they doing 10-year bids and stuff like that. So I said, well, shit. It ain't nothing I can do for 10 years.
They put you on real estate prison.
Yeah, they did. So
they did.
So I reached out to Jesse Jackson. Now, I'm name dropping. And he was like, go to school, man. Just go to school for 10 years and learn whatever you can. So I said, I'm going to school for law. So I took the LSAT, went to law school. I hated torts, all that at DePaul. I was like, you know what, man?
That school. I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I saw the school and I had all that.
No.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. You gotta, you was committed. And for you to get shut down and come back, some people can't revive from that. And it's funny not funny, but a lot of the people that we've interviewed on Stand On Your Business podcast have that same story where they failed. They got back up and then they
That's what took off.
And I love it.
The difference is about a lot of the people we dealt with, like he could have just gotten his degree and blew up. He wants to come back and bring us along with him.
Yeah.
Which is what you can't find.
Yeah.
And now you got extra education, extra experience. You've built cities, and now you're about to show out.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little more about, you said Dr. Developer University. What is that?
So after we all just left Dominican Republic.
I was wondering why you had Dr. Developer on the door.
No, because if he came in, I didn't want him to go off.
Right, so I said, she got Dr. Developer on the door.
I was like, I'm going to the real green room. I said, David Chappelle must be another one right there. But yeah, so when we was down there, that was my first time going. So I've been knowing Jamal, and we're doing the 5 guys building the high rise, whatever. So meeting him, he's saying, hey man, you gotta, see what I'm doing with the social media stuff. I'm like, bro, I'm cool on that. You know what I'm saying? I'm building high rises, bro. Like, let y'all catch up, right? So he's like, nah, man, you got a lot of information that people would love to learn and be a part of.
It's the part that was missing in your dissertation, how to spread it quicker.
Yeah. So he was like, come to the exposure. I'm like, exposure? What is exposure, bro? And then that's when he'd be like, on this side of the menu is this, and put this on this side of the menu, and
the purpose,
your exposure, something your
determines
outcome,
your level of success.
He know I always mess it up, right? So, so I go down there, and I'm just gonna.
Can we stop right there?
Yeah.
So he goes down to the Dominican Republic. We're waiting for the shuttle. They're saying, hey, somebody, Johnny Mullins has to get on this shuttle. I'm waiting patiently the first 5 minutes. I'm like, okay. I'm like, who's Johnny Mullins? Do you think does it say what he looks like? No. So I see him. I said, Johnny Mullins? He's like, yeah. I said, man, come with us. I need some AC. Let's go. So we get in the shuttle, and then I start yapping with the driver. He's like, oh, you know Spanish? The whole time. He's one of the premier people coming to this conference. And I'm like, man, this dude was over there at the airport, lost for 30 minutes.
He didn't build that city. No.
She was standing in Puerto Rican or something. She was special. I was like, I don't know what she's talking about, but hey.
No, but I was glad that I got you along. I'm like, come on, let's go.
She
I was
did.
like, come on, let's go. Let's get in this AC. It's time to get to the party.
Because it was hot down there. And let's talk about exposure. And we should have started with this, but the Stand on Your Business podcast was originated on this trip that he's talking about in the Dominican. So when we got back, Nina was like, we got to get this started. And I think we filmed Dre as our first person probably about 5 days or 6 days after being in Dominican.
He can tie us into
Thank you for exposing us.
Yeah. With that being said, Dr. Developer University also came up from that. So what is that? Like, tell us a little more about that.
So Jamal kept trying to find a name for me. Like, so
you got your name down there too?
Yeah, so he used to call me like the multi-visionaire or something. So I ran with that. Then he come back like, no, you the developer's developer.
That's what he did. I do remember that.
Like, developers developer. Like, you develop developers. I'm like, I don't have a real ring to it, man. So you didn't know what you want, but you knew what you didn't want. Yeah. So we was trying to buy that domain, and it was sold or something. Like somebody had bought, like, it was like $5,000 or something. Mm-hmm. So then we came up with Dr. Developers University. I think it was me, Andre, Jose, Nick. We sitting at breakfast.
And Jose was right there with us.
No, Jose was there.
Too.
Dre was there. Nick was there.
Yeah, they was all there. That's.
I told him, I'm like, put in Dr. Developers University because it's going to be a platform that you can learn from, almost like a school. So why not university?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. $15.
Yeah, it was like $15. So I was like, buy them all. Buy them all. Buy them all.
That sounds like Natasha.
Yeah.
Right.
Buy it all.
I brought Stand on Your Business podcast, standonyourbusiness.com.
Everything. That's right.
So, yeah.
So Jamal was like, take my whole team or something, right? After I spoke. He was like, just take my whole team, just take everybody. I was like, no, what does that mean? Like, how much he charge? How much his price?
You can afford it.
What he charge? Like, what did he do? You know, all of this stuff. But when I did the SBM thing at the sports bar, and then I gave the first class, I did a game where I was teaching them development from beginning to end. And then I gave them a quiz and questions afterward. And every time they got a question wrong, I had to drink.
Wow.
Right.
So I was like, no, that means I'm a bad teacher.
Oh, that's
you know what I'm saying?
So he ended up being the most sober one. We were able to host a lot of beautiful minds that night. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got connected with people in Philly who flip land. Who they're just waiting for us to go down there. I mean, they're just waiting. They check in with me every 2 weeks. We were able to connect with so many people who are just looking like for what's the next big thing? Can we join you? Can we support you? And I've experienced that also, you know, with you. Like, you've given an a la carte invitation to say, once I get this Robbins thing going, get your stuff together, get your money right, get your resources in order. Mm-hmm. I don't want anybody in here talking about my credit, my money. Look, I'm about to take you, I'll catapult you to be a millionaire.
Yes.
Save your money. Get your credit right. Because you need to be able to sign on the dotted line, and I can't have no scrubs with me.
Right.
That's exactly what I said.
The real tea on real tea.
He said, I can't have no scrubs with me, y'all.
Yeah.
So this is the time to reassess. And that's the same thing we're saying. Look, like, stand on your business. If it's not a full development and it's just a rehab on one property, right? You know, get your stuff right. Put your stuff in order.
Be ready. And stop saying that you didn't have an opportunity when you was never ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Absolutely.
Get ready.
That's right.
And be prepared and follow us, you know, on Stand on Your Business, because we present speakers after speakers after speakers that's giving you the real way of doing something and not taking advantage of you and just getting your $399 payment, you know, until they get it from a million more people.
So this is, I think, the perfect setup for you is, Dr. Developer University is great for those who want to get started. But I want to appeal to those developers who've had 1 or 2 projects and don't know how to scale. You know what I mean? So I would highly recommend that there be, dig into yourself and sign up for something like this. Don't humble yourself a little bit, because if you've had a short amount of developments and you're really looking to scale, and this is your lifeline, right? So let's say you've left your 9 to 5, You do lift on the side in between projects. Now it's time to get down and dirty.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing lift on the side.
I'm just saying. I was just giving an example.
Once you go through this university, you won't be doing nothing on the side, but sitting at home trying to figure out what I'm gonna do today. Go play golf? Yeah.
That's what we want to hear.
Oh,
I know I want to go play golf.
I know. That being said, we went to we were in the DR, and we went to one of the developments that you were a part of.
Yeah.
That was exciting. You know, the Hard Rock Casino, Punta Cana.
That was amazing. That's why he like, you gonna ask me to give all my developments? We be here for 3 hours. Yes. We was at the Hard Rock in the Punta Cana. I got married there. And he did develop that.
That's right.
I got married there in 2011.
Yeah.
So it was under construction still. So, you know.
Yep. I used to do all the Hard Rock stuff. All the Hard Rock was our client. So yeah, that's great. But yeah, that's what Dr. Developer University is about, is taking the people who have did a few flips, right? And saying, okay, let me take you to the next level with new construction, single family homes. But it's also about what you got right here, the restaurant. People don't even understand the business of restaurant, how to design it. Daycare centers, you know.
Yeah, he in trouble now. I just found out
hospitals,
he know how to run restaurants and daycares and hospitals. So.
Yes, I designed everything. Schools, hospitals, school for the blind. How can you design a school for the blind?
Right.
It's very difficult, right? But
that's amazing though.
Yeah,
thinking about all the things we
stuff
need
like that.
And taking it and making it happen.
So that's what the university is about, is saying there's more stuff out here where you can, you know, capitalize on other than just trying to collect the rent every 30 days, 32 days.
There's
right?
more.
These are what you got right now as a restaurant. This is going to generate more capital on a daily basis than waiting around for 30.
Consulting university
Then 30 days,
Just so you know, we do have the new one OTC coming out. I'm still learning it, but they're going to be able to put as low as 5% down on a 2, 3, 4 unit, 1, 2, 3, or 4 unit owner occupied.
What does OTC mean?
One time close. So they're going to be doing loans for new construction where they can buy the land and get the financing. It's hot off the press. I got class on January 2nd, and we will be able to finance an owner-occupied property. So you come teach them this game. You help them get a lot. If they purchase the lot, it'll be a refinance. If they buy it all as one package, it'll be a purchase. And they can put as low as 5% down with the new programs. And conventional in Cook County allows us to go to $1.4 million. So I think that new product is going to go crazy for what you guys are doing. And the programs and the loan limits, the timing is perfect. So there's no reason why people can't take advantage of what's happening. And that's going to be interest only. So they won't even have to make a full mortgage payment during the process.
But we want to make sure that we have an exit strategy. So that's why we need people to be properly educated on ensuring the timelines of construction, making sure that you have tenant screening and support. We want to make sure that you are fully encompassed and properly educated on how to get something like this completed, because we don't want to set you up for failure, right? We're really looking at sustainable home ownership and investment.
Absolutely. And then the last part was like, and guess what? When you build it, I already got them sold.
Say that again.
When you build them, I already got them sold.
We about to have a meeting after this meeting. We about to have a meeting after this meeting. Well, we could be here all day.
Absolutely.
With you. So we want to thank you so much. If someone had to find you, I know we said that once, but because we're at the end, I want them to hear it again. How can they find you on your social media platforms?
Oh, you got to talk to my social media manager
and
right
Dr. Developers U on Instagram and across all social media at Dr. Developers U.
Okay, let me repeat that. At Dr. Developer U across all social media platforms.
Yeah, with it as Dr. Developers U.
See, he know that he got that part right.
Yes.
But we want to thank you so much for coming. Stand on Your Business podcast. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time, and we will be dropping gems. We're going to help you not have to drive Lyft. Keep on tuning in.
That's right.
And you don't have to, send containers to the moon either.
Golf all day.
Well, thank you guys. It was a pleasure to have you. And we also want to wish you a very happy birthday.
That's right. That's right. Y'all giving my first pre-birthday party. Man, I love that. In the brand new 63-day-old restaurant.
Yes, 63 days. 63 days.
Beautiful establishment.